Hello and welcome to another video. Today we are going to go through a few things that you can do at home before taking your car to the MOT. Very simple things, very simple jobs that you can do very easily at home with hardly any tools, and that can save you a ton of money by the time you get your MOT done. So the focus is going for an MOT in the next few days, so let's have a look at the things I can do at home before facing an embarrassment on the MOT sheet. The amount of things that fail on the MOT these days is actually quite astonishing, but while some of them can be actually quite complicated, they cannot be done at home, there are some things that are so simple and still fail on the MOTs these days. Now, you can look at a few things outside, and basically the first things to look into are if there are any sharp edges on the bodywork, which are usually a MOT fail. But since this is a car that is usually in general good condition and there's no crash marks or anything like that, that should be no cause of concern. But things like cracked lenses or things like that, things that just simply protruding out like a trim or something like that, can be a bit of a hazard and can potentially be a cause for a MOT fail. Whilst on exterior, check that the wipers are in good condition, there's no cracks on them at all, and that they do the job properly, because wipers in bad condition do not work well, and if they don't work well, they will fail the MOT. Also, look on the surface of, okay, it's quite dirty, I'm sorry about that. Look on the surface of the glass if there are any cracks or anything like that, and anything that is within the driver's viewing area, they can be a cause for fail or even an advisory. Also, going on the exterior, look at the condition of the tires. Make sure there are no cracks on the walls and there's no bits missing. These tires are nearly new anyway, so they shouldn't have any problems. Also, if you notice any tire wear, especially around the edges, which particularly happens in Mercedes and other cars with certain types of suspension, it can be a cause of concern. Also, check the wear on the inner shoulder, because if there is a substantial amount of wear in this area, that means that the alignment is not really up to scratch. And although some places don't really check for alignment, the fact is that your car is not really steering as it should. Whilst we are on the subject of the wheels, the best thing to check if there's any play on the wheels and so on is to jack up your car and put a bar underneath the wheel. Also shake the wheel top, bottom, and also side to side to see if there's any play. Also check if there is any problems underneath the car. For things like the coil springs can be a cause of concern in modern vehicles, because some of them have a tendency to crack, and also on other suspension components. And I can see that stabilizer link already has seen better days, so I do think that will be a subject for another video. Also, make sure that the exhaust is in good condition and it's not hanging and it is properly held in place. One thing to look also on the exhaust system is, if you have a chance to lift the vehicle, is of the condition of the rear box as well, which is over there behind. If there's any leaks or anything like that, it will be advisory and also a potential fail. The lights are another very important area on an MOT test. Make sure that they do work and that they are actually with the correct color. There are some tail lights that can be, and brake lights that can be a little bit too pink, and indicators that are not properly orange. So they should also be the correct color, and that would be could be a fail, or also could be an advisory. Also make sure that the fog light and the reversing light do both work. Sometimes it can be a little bit hard to check if the lights work, because especially if you were doing the tests yourself. If not, well, ask a friend or someone that lives in your household to look if and see if the lights work, or just simply get your phone, put it behind the taillights or even under suspension components and so on, and record everything, and then you can watch later and see if there are any problems. Also, I just forgot to mention about the stop light earlier. This one must be working as well, because if some of these are not working, it could potentially be an advisory or even a fail, as I've seen a couple of cases, but I'm not sure what was the outcome when people appealed. And obviously the same goes for the lights. Side lights, dip beams and full beams all must be working, so make sure that they are also in good order. Do not fit LED bulbs on halogen headlights, because they will fail immediately. And also, on this case, make sure that the headlights are also nice and clean. This will be given a good clean. And before, if your headlight covers are a bit too milky, try to polish them a little bit so that you can see a little bit of the headlights, because if the plastic is really too foggy, that can impair the beam pattern of the headlight. Also, have a good look underneath the car, see if there is anything that is cause of concern. For example, when disc brakes can be a bit too rusty, they will be an advisory. And also, when they test the brake efficiency, if they're not up to scratch, they will fail. And the same thing goes for the suspension components. So if there's any cracks or anything like that on the if there are any cracks on the coil springs, they will fail. And also, just take the wheel off and check if there's any misting on the shock absorber. If there is, and if it is serious, it will fail. But that's also an indication that you should change your shock absorbers as soon as possible. If there is a very light mist, you might just get away with an advisory. There are other things that can be potentially a little bit petty from MOT insurers, but some of them are in the law. For example, I've seen cars with advisories where the petrol flap isn't really in there, because potentially they say that can cause fuel to escape and so on. But I've seen everything really. With the interior, there are a few things that you can actually do. For example, if you are one of those that have mobile phone holders and so on the windscreen, please remove them. I've seen a few cases that when they are a bit too close to the driver's viewing area, MOT testers that have been failing cars for that. And also get rid of any ornaments or anything that can impair vision. Some MOT testers don't seem to like it, but each to their own, to be perfectly honest. But just to play safe, just remove everything. Now that we are in here, there's not really much to notice. Make sure that your seat belts do work properly, and same for all seat belts at the back as well. Also make sure that the doors do open from the inside and also from the outside, because if they don't, that could also be a problem as well. Make sure that there are no lights like the ABS light or even engine light, or most importantly the airbag light stays on after the engine is started. Because if one of these is on, it can be potentially an advisory or even a fail, especially the airbag light on, which is a total no-no. The handbrake must be operating correctly. If there is too much of a long travel or something like that, or if it's not braking the rear wheels correctly, that will also be a fail. Under the bonnet, there are a few things that you might need to consider. First of all, make sure that there are no major leaks around the body, although some of them are actually concealed by the underbody tray. Make sure there's no pieces of a trim loose, things like a loose battery. It is an MOT fail. And also make sure that the power steering reservoir is not leaking. This also can be a fail. I had experience with a Rover years ago where the power steering reservoir was leaking right at the bottom of the hose here, and that was an instant fail. The other things that you need to consider is nothing loose, nothing disconnected, but one thing very important, and it is something that where many cars fail: the lack of washer fluid. Make sure this is topped up. If you don't have any, just use water. It's much better to have something rather than nothing, and this, if it doesn't work, well, goodbye MOT. And of course, just like everything else, make sure that the bonnet closes properly, and the same with the doors, if they open from the outside or the inside and so on, which is an indication that the car is actually accessible. Well, I'm not sure what are the regulations regarding the spare wheel, but if one is fitted, make sure that it is in good condition and proper filled up. But since some cars don't come with one, I don't think you should worry too much. And of course, number plates are also very, very important. If you have the wrong type of number plate fitted, it will be a fail as well. And also for the rear number plate, there's something else. At least one of these lights must work. There's a video for that as well on my channel, where you can find how to change the lights. It was an advisory on this car where only one of them was working. Also save yourself from hassle and get them both replaced if they're not working. And there we go, simple things that can be done at home at really no cost. These are the checks that I usually do in my cars. Of course, it's not really a comprehensive list. I'm not an MOT tester, but I know where cars have failed in the past. And doing these little checks, things like the condition of bodywork, condition of tires, of the steering, and the emissions components, leaks, windscreen washer, condition of the windscreen, condition of the seat belts, the wipers, the rear lights, and so on. If you do these checks, take about probably half an hour of your day, no more than that. Do everything so it could save you a hassle on the MOT test. And also save you money, because imagine sometimes some places do charge you for the pleasure of topping up with the washer fluid, or sometimes just a simple bulb. They charge you about £15 just to change it, when you probably could have done this yourself at home. So there you go. Thank you very much for watching. If you have any suggestions, please don't forget to comment. Thank you, and I'll see you on the next video. Take care.